Namaskaram. We are continuing our series on the Nayanmars. This is the third one. This is a video about a female Nayanmar, Karraikal Ammaiyar. There were 3 female Nayanmars amongst the 63. She is one of the greatest. The traditional date for her is 5th century, though it is quite likely that she was earlier, and many scholars are of the opinion that she was probably the first genuine Bhakti poet, and the wave of Bhakti that began in India saw its origin from her. Now, she was born Punitavati, daughter of a rich merchant in Karaikal, which is a port town in Tamil Nadu. She was from childhood a great devotee of Shiva. When the time for her to get married, she was married to another merchant called Paramadatta. He was from Nagapattinam, but since she was the only child of her father, he decided to settle down in Karaikal only and flourished very deeply. So everything was normal. They were having a very normal, loving relationship. She was extremely beautiful, and she was very famous for her beauty, which will have some relevance to the story later. So one day Paramadatta went to the market where an acquaintance sent him, some people met him and they gave him 2 mangoes, and he sent it home with a servant saying, "I'll come back for lunch and I'll eat it then." Again, all normal. At that time, a wandering mendicant, a wandering Saiva, comes to the door and asks for food, and she gives him food, and then, like the sweet, since she didn't have any sweet with her, she gives him one of the mangoes, and he goes away after blessing her. This is all normal. She is always very devout and always feeds devotees of Shiva, so this is all very normal. Husband comes back, she gives him lunch also, gives him one of the mangoes. Then he likes the mango very much and says, "I sent 2, give me the other one." Now she's in a fix, and for whatever reason she doesn't want to tell him that, Punitavati doesn't want to tell him that she has given that away, because she's a little apprehensive that maybe she made a mistake. Her husband had very specifically told her, "Keep it for me," and then she gave it away. On the other hand, how is she not going to give to somebody who's come asking for bhiksha? So she prays to Shiva that, "Here I am in this fix, please help me." And immediately another mango appears in her hands, and she feeds that to her husband. Now this mango was so superior to the first one that he gets a little suspicious. Heaven only knows why, one mango can taste better than the other, but he gets a little suspicious, and he tells her, "This is not the mango I sent you." So she then explains the whole story, and now his suspicion goes even higher. Now at this point I need to say that the mango in Sanskrit literature, in all our old stories, has created so much trouble it is not funny. It is almost a trope at the point, the mango creating trouble. Anyways, so he is now suspicious and says, "No, you got this from somewhere else. How am I to believe that Shiva himself gave you a mango? Get me another one." So right in front of him she prays again and manifests another mango and hands it to him. The minute he takes it into his hand, it evaporates. And because he mistrusted the word of a great bhakta, so he didn't deserve such prasadam, he didn't deserve such a divine fruit. He is completely flabbergasted and aghast that he has been essentially living with a saint, and he did not know, and he just treated her like an ordinary woman, and he kind of immediately renounces any marital relationship with her, but he doesn't tell her because he's afraid, because she's a very powerful, obviously a very powerful saint. So if he says anything to anger her, he says, I'm going elsewhere to make some more money. I'll be gone on a trip, it might be years, but I'll come back with lots of money. And he goes away. They say he goes away to the Pandya country. Now she lives in what was then known as Chola country. So he goes away to Pandya Nadu and he settles down there, marries, has a daughter, and names the daughter after his first wife, Punitavati. Then, since they are a trading community, some people go to the other city and realize that, oh, this is that fellow, no, this is Parmadatta, no? Like they come back and tell her that your husband is there and he's got another wife, and all this while this poor lady has been very faithful and chaste and waiting for her husband to come back. So she gets irritated and she goes, the relatives take her there, and they tell him your wife is coming, and she's pretty irritated. So he comes out with his second wife and child, and they all prostrate in front of her, and he says that I cannot look at you as a wife. I have been foolishly thinking of you as a wife and treating you as a wife, whereas you are a great saint. You are spiritually so great. You have the blessings of Shiva himself. And he tells all her relatives also, you also prostrate in front of her. She's a divine personage. Do not consider her to be a normal person. Do not treat her as a normal person. But I simply cannot take you back as a wife. That's not possible. You are divine and I am just a human being. Now, it's very interesting that centuries, thousands of years later, almost the same story happens to Anandamayi Ma, who in the 20th century was recognized universally as an avatar of God. And her husband also sort of renounced the marital relationship and became her own disciple. So this also is a very common thing. We keep talking about patriarchy and things like that, but the Hindus were quick to recognize spiritual superiority wherever they saw it. They had no ego about that. So Punitavati is very aghast, and she's very upset also. She was like, this beauty of mine was only useful to me so long as it pleased my husband. Now that my husband wants nothing more to do with me, I am requesting Shiva to make me like one of his Budaganas only. And he immediately makes her into, he grants her the form of becoming like a Gaul, Ghoul, Gaul. It's called, in Tamil it's called Pe. So it's like a Budagana, it's a very frightening form. There are very dire descriptions of how terrifying the form is. There are many sculptures of, emaciated, drooping breasts and wild hair, and just completely like some kind of preta, some kind of Budagana, typical one of Shiva's Budaganas. She gets that form, and from that time she is known as Karraikal Ammaiyar, the mother from Karaikal, and she continues serving Shiva devotees. And she also starts writing poetry. She is regarded as one of the pioneering poets in certain particular types of poetic styles, which were then taken up by the later Nayanmars and the later poets and things like that. So she has contributed in literary terms, not just in spiritual terms. And Karaikal Ammaiyar was undoubtedly a spiritual giant. There is no doubt about her stature. Many people are of the opinion that the wandering mendicant who came to her home and took the mango was actually Vikshatana. It was Shiva himself, and that was the Guru Dakshina he took for initiating her. See, her poetry has a lot of cremation ground imagery, so that is like a clue as to the kind of practices she may have had knowledge of. She was initiated into the Panchakshari, the Mahamantra Om Namah Shivaya, when she was a child, but her extraordinary knowledge about the cremation ground and cremation ground practices, and she also has very deep knowledge of the dance styles that used to be prevalent in her time. So she is knowledgeable in Sanskrit, she is knowledgeable in the dance aesthetic, she is knowledgeable in the cremation ground sadhana, Shamshana sadhana, and she is knowledgeable in Tamil, and she is a great poet. So all extraordinary achievements for somebody living over 1500 years back. Then she decides that she wants to go to Kailash to witness Shiva, and she goes to Kailash. Now, did she actually physically go to Kailash? It is possible, but rather improbable. To go from a Tamil Nadu port town all the way to Kailash, especially a woman by herself, even though they say that her appearance was so frightening that everybody would clear the road instantly. Nobody wanted to mess with her. My personal belief is that she did it at the astral level. She did it completely through her sheer power of meditation. In the astral level, she went to Kailasa. When she got to the base of Kailasa, this is where my Appa, my father, Shiva lives. How can I put my feet onto something so sacred? So she walks on her hands all the way up the hill to the summit to meet him. And Parvati, who is the greatest tapasvi of all time, she sees this and she asks Mahadeva, what is this? Who is this terrifying creature of such devotion who is coming in? And she says, she has asked for this terrifying form which will make her famous all over the world. He was right, because there are Karraikal Ammaiyar sculptures even in Angkor and Cambodia and places like that. And she has come to meet me, and he addresses her as Ammaiyar and she addresses him as Appa, and so he asks, what do you want the boon? And she is like, let there be no more birth for me ever, and I only want to be with you, and if I have any birth, then that birth should be spent in serving you and your devotees, and I would want to witness your dance forever. I would want to be part of your cosmic dance, the Ananda Tandava. So Shiva is very pleased and he grants her immortality, and he tells her, go to Tiruvallangadu, the Ratna Sabha of Nataraja, that is close by to Chennai, and the Nataraja Murti there in the Sannadhi is unusual in that the left leg is not, the leg is raised up skywards. So very often the Trivikrama form of Vishnu and the Tiruvallangada form of Nataraja is mixed up. You go over there, go to the Ratna Sabha, and in a secret chamber over there, she is supposed to be eternally present, watching the Ananda Tandava dance of the Ananda Tandava of Nataraja. So this is the story. Also, there is an interesting byproduct of this, that every year in Karaikal there is a festival, a mango festival, where they celebrate. The Shiva is taken out in Utsava, and the Utsava Murti is taken out, and they hand out mangoes to celebrate the. So This was the first time. This is probably the first story. This is probably the first story where just through sheer devotion a person attains such spiritual heights. So this is the the Bhakti story. This is the probably the first Bhakti story where without formal training, without renunciation, without being formally, just through sheer devotion, because she was a normal person. She was married, she was taking care of the house, she was devoted to her husband, and she was devoted to Shiva and serving Shiva Bhaktas. And just through the sheer intensity, the sheer power of her devotion, she attained to a point where miracles were happening spontaneously around her. And then that when she began to be recognized as somebody very spiritually great, she instantly wanted her beauty to go. She was very stunningly beautiful. She wanted her beauty to go because she understood that would become a huge problem, a huge distraction. And she immediately wanted that people, if they value me, should value me only for my spiritual. So she asked for the most repellent form possible. And Shiva gave it because Shiva doesn't see forms, he only sees into the heart of things. As I said once before, that is one of his names, he who sees into the heart of things. And he saw right into the heart of things and right. And that so-called repellent form, that so-called ghoulish form, that so-called terrifying form is one of the most revered and sacred and respected forms in Tamil Shaivism. Everybody understands the sheer magnitude of her achievement and the sheer pinnacles of spirituality that she had gained. So it is a very interesting story because it involves so many multiple strands of truth and appearance. It involves strands of how bhakti alone, which is I think the most important part of the story, because it says that bhakti alone can take you to the pinnacle of spiritual attainment. That is a very great innovation on the spiritual path. And then the entire wave of the bhakti movement begins from this one example. At least many people think so. There are a lot of feminist reinterpretations of her story also, which quite frankly bore me to tears, because it's evident none of them have any understanding of sadhana, and spirituality though has not gone 1 kilometer near those Gyani Mahilas, so they miss the whole point of Karraikal Ammaiyar and they just project all their theology, because feminism is also theology, they just project their theology onto her, which is okay, I suppose it is inevitable, but this is one of the great saints, one of the greatest Shaiva saints of the world, of all time. And outside Tamil Nadu, she is not very well known, which I think is a huge tragedy. Of all the female saints and the female devotees, the female bhaktas who are very famous, that Karaikal Ammaiyar is not known is actually a tragedy. It is a grotesque tragedy. She should be in the forefront. She should be first. However, it is all as Shiva wills. It is all as Nataraja wills. Maybe only for those who really can see beyond appearances come to know of these things. I have been to Tirulangadu. It is an extraordinary temple, the Ratna Sabha. The Shivalingam is gigantic. The temple is not at all in good shape, but that there is nothing new in saying such things. Most of our temples are not in good shapes, but it is one of the Pancha Sabhas of Nataraja, and it is an extraordinarily powerful kshetra. made more powerful because the such a great saint is supposed to be in residence over there, eternally in residence over there. So it is a Punya Kshetram, beyond even the fact that it is one of the 5 Sabhas of Nataraja. So the Nayanmar series is going well. This was the first female Nayanmar. I'll deal with the other 2 in time. So I hope this has been insightful and valuable to all Bhaktas. Sarvam Shivamaya.